Hello and welcome to Show Love. I'm Bronwyn Murphy. Today I'm talking to a man who lived a life of crime until he found empathy and really worked out how he ticks and who he is. Never getting the love he deserves shaped his choices, and he believes that we should always be able to express ourselves. So much so that he's taken to helping the men and boys of Camden and surrounding areas in London with creating the biggest gang around. I caught up with Terry Ellis for a cup of tea. Hello, Terry.
Hello.
Thanks so much for talking to me today. As I know, you're very passionate about this. Just a bit of background. You're a former armed robber, having done a 16-year sentence,
16-year, 9-month sentence.
In prison, and are now reformed and on a mission to stop serious youth violence, which is amazing. Before we talk about the setting up the biggest gang in Camden, can we go back to how you were the mastermind of several Ocean's 11 type heists, and what was the catalyst that saw you getting caught?
We was a group of 5 guys. A couple of us were ex-army, not me. I spent a lot of my youth in mixing with criminals. My dad was an armed robber, so I was actually quite good from the age of 13 to 15. I'd done 50 armed robberies, post offices, building societies.
I was quite good, he said.
Well, yeah. So I ended up getting 4 years as a kid. I came out. I then went into the drug game, and then at the age of 35 onwards, I formed a gang of guys. We used to just go around to bonded warehouses. We were dressed as a fast response team. We had Alsatian dogs, we had police cars, police vans. We'd pull up. We would say there's someone on the roof, or we believe there's guns or drugs being brought into the premises. We would then ask everyone in there to come towards me, and for my protection and my officer's protection, I would cuff everyone while we brought the dogs in to smell out the drugs or the guns. Subsequently, we would just handcuff them all. We would take them to a back room. We would then bring our lorries in, and we would empty the place.
And what were you taking?
Mostly computer chips. Mostly computer chips. That was our game. We was doing all the biggest IT suites in Europe. I think the last one we did was Verizon in King's Cross. They boasted on their website 24-hour protection. I think they had 10 security guards. They had biometric alarm scanners, hand scanners, everything. But the only thing they didn't account for was the police knocking on the front door, saying, "Can we come in?"
Yeah.
And then that's exactly what we did. I think it was on the 8th of December 2008. It was one day before my birthday. We went in, and I think we took £4.5 million worth of computer motherboards out of there.
Who came up with this idea?
Do you know what? I was in prison. I got nicked in 2000. No, 9/11. I actually got nicked on 9/11 for a couple of kilos of Charlie. And they confiscated my ass, even though the gear wasn't mine. It was actually a friend. I was in a car with someone. I was quite bitter. And while I was serving a sentence, I thought, you know what? How can I get my money back and also get a little bit of revenge on the people that put me in? Which I just, I was, my thinking was a bit backward. So, I just assumed that, I would get my own back on the police. So I made some police ID up. I actually got it stolen from a police car. We made it all up with our pictures on, so we can go and show our ID. Mine was Darren Brown, believe it or not, the illusionist.
Darren Brown? Darren Brown, amazing.
So we just, I just used to walk up to him and say, "This is who I am. I've got a warrant to search the premises." And really, that's about as good as it gets.
That is bloody clever.
Well, the reason we actually went down this road, because you know what, as much as we are criminals, we don't want to go and hurt anyone, so we don't carry guns, we don't carry koshes, we don't carry anything that can hurt anyone. The only thing is that we take to the jobs is us. If we can't deal with them physically, most people who are in the positions like security guards or in position of power, really, they respect the old bill.
Yeah.
So normally they just go along exactly what we say. I don't think we ever had one person that actually questioned us.
You're quite massive. I don't think anyone would say no, would they?
Well, we had a few of us. I'm 6'1". We had a couple of guys 6'3", 6'4", and we all train every day. We all look healthy, and I think that really put people's minds at rest that we were who we were. We wasn't druggies. We wasn't smoking, wasn't going drinking every night. We were just professional robbers.
And so how did all of this stop then? What was the catalyst that helped that?
What happened, a friend of mine who I worked with for a number of years, he was using the same MO. He got caught on a bit of work. And then what happened is that they went to known associates, and because I'd grown up with him, they showed my picture to a load of security guards, and they said, that's the guy. So I then had a 70-strong team of police officers after me for about a year. So they come and tried to arrest me, and I was up at 5:30 in the morning, and luckily I saw them. I actually went across the roof and I disappeared for a year. But all my codees, unfortunately, got arrested that morning. They all got sentenced. They all got 10 and 11 years. And me, assuming a year later when I was arrested, that I'd go guilty, because they all went not guilty and got found guilty. But I would go guilty, and then I got 16 years, 9 months for going guilty. Right. So I had a year off. I had a year on the run.
Where'd you go?
I just went all over. I went and bought a canal boat.
Really?
Yeah, so I went up and down the canal on the canal boats. I rented out a few cottages.
Were you always looking behind you though?
No, not once.
Were you not?
No,
You've just literally got no fear. I don't think I've ever met anyone like you.
Well, you know what? I think once I was outside of London, I felt really calm. I had a few quid in my rucksack, and so I could I was spending a couple $100 a week. So if you imagine £200 a week, that's £10,000 a year. If my memory serves me right, it's whatever. But I didn't spend much.
Yeah.
So so I was meeting people. I was having good conversations with them, and I started then to turn my life around. But I wasn't doing anything for that year, and it felt really great not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then on I think it's the 15th of September 2009. Yeah, I think it was 2008. So 2009, sorry. I was walking along Lee Grave in Luton. I went to visit someone, and next thing, the whole street came alive with police.
Wow.
There was about 25 of them, and they arrested me.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So they were following you?
Yeah, they were after me for I used to change my phone every few weeks, so they got on my phone, and they followed me, because I used to get on a train from Northampton. I'd come down to London. They followed me up, and they guesstimated where I might be.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they plotted it up, and then I walked along.
We all watch television programs like this, like The Luther or whatever. Do you watch programs like that? No. Because why? Because it brings back horrible memories.
You know what? When you see armed robberies and the way they depict criminals on television, they always make them out to look idiots. Even though most of them are. They trust me, they are. But you know what? I just don't watch it because I've lived the life. It doesn't really appeal to me. I'd rather watch a David Attenborough documentary on Wales. Instead of watching Luther or something about criminality.
Yeah, but we're all a bit fascinated by crime like this. I think that's why there are so many of these programs out there. Like even your story now, I bet you find that everyone is fascinated by how you lived the life you did with no...
It's very rare.
They'll make a film about you one day. You watch.
Do you know what? It's very rare that I actually speak about it, because it doesn't infuse me anymore.
No.
I think when you're in prison, you start talking about the jobs you've done to impress your mates.
Yeah.
Do you know what? And I in the first couple of years of the sentence, I went through that. I was with a few villains, so well-known villains, and I thought, God, am I actually going to do this for the next 8 or 9 years? So I decided to do Grendon therapeutic prison to find out who I was. So instead of going and talking about jobs and joking and being sarcastic and with all my defences, I thought I'd try it.
Yeah, so, and explain that, because for anyone that doesn't know what that is.
Grendon is a therapeutic prison in Aylesbury. It houses 220 of the worst serial killers, child molesters, rapists, paedophiles, and me, the token recidivist, robber. So I went there, and I just wanted to find out a little bit about me, how I ticked. And after 2.5 years, I got in touch with my empathy side of me, because I never felt empathy. I never ever cried. I was put in a home at 11 years old. I was dropped off there. So for me, I was abandoned by my mum and my family, and I never had that closeness with anyone. So I just never felt it. So to actually go into a therapeutic environment and actually speak about it and actually find that empathy inside me and actually go, you know what, it did affect me. It did actually touch me. And for the first time in my life, I cried. I started crying, and then once I did that, it sort of opened up the floodgates for. I was crying every other day.
So do you think you were holding that back?
I think I did, yeah. And why I was holding it in, that made me really angry, made me really aggressive. Made me drink, made me smoke, made me take drugs, made me womanize, made me never trust anyone. So if someone said they love me like my mum used to, I wouldn't trust them. I'd think, you know what, you love me until you want to give me up, or you love me until it suits you. So I never had that bond with anyone.
Yeah.
So it was only until I actually did 2.5 years of therapy and actually really understood how I actually worked and ticked that I actually started to change as a person, and I started to communicate and articulate conversations with people instead of just pushing them away.
And do you think if you'd have done that like at 11, like you said, that it might have made you have a completely different life?
So if I was able to actually speak to people, I think for most of my life I've been locked up in a mental prison. My mental prison has probably been more effective than any bars or bricks because it kept me in there. I hid behind its walls for years and years and years because I wasn't able to talk. I was scared to look into people's eyes for fear of the questions that they might ask me. So I isolated myself, and I only worked with villains, and I only talked to villains. And when you've got one-dimensional characters that you can just talk to, and it's all about crime, you really don't learn anything social.
Yeah.
You don't learn anything about them. I don't think I can tell you anything about my criminal associates that actually means anything on a level as far as family is concerned, about feeling for someone. It was just work, jobs, and that was it.
And do you think that's because there's millions of people in prison that are living the same life, like keeping themselves in their own prison sort of thing?
I think a lot of them, I'm a firm believer now in nature versus nurture, or nurture versus nature. A lot of the guys I met in therapy and prison have been abused as kids, or have been come from abusive families. Mother's alcoholic. I tried to commit suicide every time. My mum was always committing suicide, or every other week when I was a young kid. My dad was an armed robber. He was out all the time, so you never got that love and never got that communication skills from them, which you learn. So you
obviously learnt from your dad that this is how to sort of earn a living.
Well, the only role models I ran with were thieves. So if we wanted anything, we would go and nick it. So if I wanted a bike, I'd go and nick it. If I wanted some sweets, I'd go in the sweet shop and go and nick them. If I wanted food, I'd go and take it. So we just knew that if we wanted anything, we had to go and get it. Because my mum was a professional shoplifter, but she was just happy going with her friends and drinking and smoking and going out. And we were just left to our own devices. So as a feral child, we would go and break into things, and we would get loads of either toys, clothes or money, and that would suffice. That was us thinking, we were men at 11 years old, or we were creating our own life. Unfortunately, when you've got no boundaries and you've got no rules and you've got no role models, the world is for taking, and it's and that's when you start getting in trouble.
So kids need boundaries. I mean, what was it like for you, school for you? And
do you know, I got expelled from school. I got put in a community home. They decided that I went to attendance centres. I went to a place in Wiltshire called Green Acres. They put me on a farm, so they thought it was best for me to actually work on the farm instead of teaching me an education. So when I did leave there at 14 years old, I couldn't spell, I couldn't read, I never had no social skills because I was stuck on a farm with some goats, and the pigs and everything else, chopping them up. So really, my start was really, really bad.
And I know that you sort of feel quite strongly about the fact that other kids, like if they're not taught or nurtured in that way, they feel embarrassed, and then they therefore become sort of like the hard man to cover up that.
I think that the more that I've learned over the years, people just need to be able to express themselves. Most kids who can't spell or can't read, it's because they can't learn the same as other kids. You put them in a different environment and then show them how to learn a different way, then they're more. But, people are just too fast to exclude now and demonise them kids. I was really bad, but you know what? I just learned a different way. I've wrote 3 books in the last couple of years now. I wrote poetry all the time. It's just I wasn't able to express myself because I couldn't spell.
Yeah.
When I started I got one of the electric dictionaries, and it had a thesaurus on it. So because of my therapy, I started to articulate responses instead of as a feral kid. When you're right, or whether you're wrong. You're right with your fists.
Yeah.
So, but in therapy, you actually start to articulate instead of swearing, because what it is in therapy, they teach you that it's better for you to talk to someone and explain yourself instead of calling them names and swearing, because that then will elicit a response from them that basically is negative, and they will throw a punch. So you learn for the 2.5 years to actually communicate on a level that actually didn't put you in a position where you would elicit someone to throw a punch at you. So as soon as you start learning that, it just means that you can function on so many levels, which was great for me. Also, most of the guys I met killed because they was embarrassed. They kill because of their egos. So ego and embarrassment play a massive part in most of the guys I met in prison, in their sentences, and whether they killed or not. So understanding embarrassment and ego was pretty fundamental, the most fundamental lesson I learned inside, because it doesn't physically hurt you. And once I put myself in a position on all my therapy groups and all my main meetings with 40 other guys where they embarrassed me for the way I looked, talked and everything else, I realised after a while I could actually foul. I could actually foul doing things. I could be embarrassed and it didn't physically hurt me. So that was the biggest lesson that I learned, was not to feel. I knew it wasn't a physical pain. So then I wouldn't get that feeling of fight and flight. Yeah. It would just be a normal thing like you see in the House of Commons. You'll see two sides or three sides, that Labour and the Tories mainly. They'd have a go at each other, and 2 minutes later they'll all be talking nice to each other. Yeah. And that's what you learn. Most people have got role models in their life. Their fathers will say, right, you're 10 years old now, you can't hit him no more, so it's about talking. With us, we never had that, so we missed that golden opportunity as kids to function as normal adults and go into adolescence as adolescents. We actually go through our own lives by being adolescent. Yeah. We never grow up. So I know 50-year-old guys that are still taking cocaine every weekend, still smoking, still womanising, because they've never grown up.
But not happy, right?
I don't think none of them are happy. Yeah. Because they haven't really found out who they were. Their triggers are still there. They haven't dealt with their anger issues, and they haven't dealt with their life issues.
So I bring up 2 sons on my own, and I've got boundaries and the open talking thing. So I'm kind of on the right path, hopefully, right? Oh,
it's brilliant. The most important thing is talking. If you can sit your kid down there and you can actually speak about his thoughts and feelings, then you won. Yeah. The minute you can't talk to him and he's bottling it up, then you know there's something wrong. So an open, honest relationship, and it's got to be open, honest. It's got to be about sexuality. Most of the guys I met who are criminals and has killed and gone on to kill were actually gay or bisexual. And most of them who killed other men, it was about gay rage. So, talking about sexuality, talking about who you are is imperative.
Is that true? Most of them? Really?
I think 80% of the guys I actually met in prison, I met one rapist who was actually gay. He raped a woman. He was so angry he was rage at her because he couldn't come to terms with the fact that he was gay. So he then emasculated himself, or made her feel really bad by taking it on her.
And that would have been a thing from their parents that they couldn't talk to them.
Because they couldn't talk to them. I met lots of guys that were bisexual that had gone on to kill women, and also gone on to kill guys because they would have sex with them. They would finally get to a place where they could get the guts or the bottle to actually go and do the sexual act and enjoy it, and all of a sudden they think, oh my God, I'm gay or I'm queer or whatever. And what they do then, they try and regain the power by beating the person up, and then they kill them. Yeah. And then they spend 15 years inside, for that. And when all they needed to do was go, you know what, this is who I am.
But that's society's problem, in the fact that gay people are made to feel so
for a long time
about being gay. It's like horrendous. Well, and what do we do about that?
Do you know what? It's we went to Pride last week, the Campaign Against Violence and the Band of Brothers, and I went with my girlfriend. Do you know, we took loads of pictures because it's about me as a hardened criminal being seen mixing with. I got pictures with transvestites. I got pictures with everyone that came through to that day. We got hundreds of pictures. It's about showing people that we can all get on together. Yeah. There was different people of different religions, different ethnicities, every different race that came through there. It's great for me to bring that back to Camden and say, look, this is who I am. My name's Terry Ellis. Yeah. And this is what I do on the weekends.
How do we get you to be Prime Minister next? Because
it's going to be lovely.
Yeah, we need you. So when you were in prison, you wrote everything down, and you've now got a book.
I wrote Living Amongst the Beasts. It's a derogatory title, but there's lots of epiphanies in there of how I changed. So, the title's derogatory, there's no doubt about it, but once you read the book, you'll go through it and you'll see everything I've learned and how it changed me. Because you know what? Therapy doesn't change you. I'm not going to lie. Therapy is not the medicine that changes recidivism or criminality. The person that changes is you.
Yeah.
You know, you have to take responsibility for yourself, and you have to want to change. And you got to really want it. The therapy is just another tool that you can actually use to understand you, but it's not the tool that's going to change. If it was, they would roll it out across a prison system like tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's not, unfortunately. But you know, it changed my life because I was able to actually participate in it, and and for me it worked.
It's so important what you're saying. And now, having been through the system, you think older men with skills, experiences and wisdom can make changes to young people who might choose crime and violence. So tell us about a Band of Brothers.
I tell you, the Band of Brothers is called the Quest for Community. It's a unique program. Men of different ages and social circumstances come together to examine themselves, the lifestyle they live in, and co-create a new version for themselves and their community. It's a 12-week program. Yeah, young men will take part in the program alongside other young men who are encountering difficulties in their life, and be part of a crucible in which they will forge a better future for themselves. They in turn will be part of their own crucible. The 3-month journey will invite participants to examine and consider fundamental questions about life, such as who am I, what should I do with the rest of my life, and what meaning or purpose can I find to sustain that, and potentially, given the mistakes I've made, the wrong turns that I've taken, is there a way back for me? So we just discuss sexuality, if they hold any different beliefs, and we then talk through that, and we then create a new version for them so they can take back to their community. It's a real simple idea.
Yeah.
It's based on the same principle as what I learned in therapy in prison. It's a little bit more subtle, because it's not based on embarrassment, it's not based on ego, it's about giving you a gift. And so you're gonna stand up now and be counted. And from this day, you're gonna take a good look at yourself. You're gonna ask them questions of yourself, and then we're gonna put it into practice. He will then go on and then change. We then train him as a mentor, we then train him as a leader, and then we are then a united group. We are the biggest band. Well, you know what, we call it the biggest gang of role models in Camden.
Yeah.
So, but we've got 1,400 members nationwide.
Amazing.
So, we've got little pockets everywhere. So I think it's 12 branches nationwide. So, we all man the weekends free. So if 12 men go, we put 12 men on the weekends, and then 30 men will go there to help them through it. It's a real unique experience. And once they've done it, it's about looking into other men's eyes.
Yeah.
So when you look at another man, because most men can't trust other men, so the whole weekend is based about trust.
Why is that?
Do you know what? We've grown up without fathers in our life, and the only people that we come up against are the police, or are older than us, and they be giving us a beating. I was in a community home, and the people that would run it were men. I was given beatings. I went to attendance centres. I was given a beating. So anyone. So you
think everyone's going to turn on you?
So yeah, you look at the male role model as someone really you can't trust, because they say one thing and do another thing. It's the same as Tory politicians. Yeah. They say they're doing this, but basically they're doing something completely different.
Yeah.
But we won't go into politics.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much we can talk about there. We're fucked.
Yeah.
I should take that out. But if you, as the kid that was in care, sort of about 15 or whatever, saw this Band of Brothers, how would you entice someone like you to get involved in this?
I think for me, it's about funding. It's about really funding initiatives for young kids now. And saying, well, you know what, there is something out there that you can actually go to, and it's going to turn your life around. Most of the kids I speak to are real bright. Whether it's either music, film, poetry, or even there's so many things that they're really good at. I got loads of kids around there that go on bikes. They do wheelies up and down there. I got one of the kids that plays for QPR. Really bright kids. They're not very good at school. Mm. So they just don't like the way it gets on.
But that's just one aspect of brightness, isn't it? It's like being tested, and not everyone's
we live in a society now where if you don't academically learn one way, then your class is a failure.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to say, go with the things that you're good at. Keep doing what you're good at. But it's important that you get an education. It's important that you sit down and start talking to adults. It's important that you start to trust them. You know what? And because there's only one way you're going to go. You're going to go to prison. And none of them want to do that. If you give someone an opportunity to go to prison, you ain't going to go there.
No.
I've been inside for 20 years. If I told you about prison, how really bad it was, and the violence and everything else, it's not just PlayStations and having a laugh with the mates. It's 23-hour a day bang up. The first couple of weeks is okay. The first couple of months is okay. The first year's okay. But when you got to do a life sentence, 6 years, 6 years, 6 years, 6 years, and seeing all your mates go home, and the mental scars that leaves on you, family members dying,
everyone
relationships
gets so angry.
They do. That's why prison is a keg.
Yeah.
It's like a. I think we've had 20 odd riots in the last couple of years. They actually play it down now because they don't even report it no more. There's a massive epidemic of spice inside prison now. Psychotropic drugs. There's so many drugs in prison because they've taken 20,000 prison officers out of the prison system, and they haven't replaced them. So where you had 6 or 7 officers on a wing, you've now got 2, and they're stuck behind the door. So the prison runs itself. So it's run by the cons. Now, if you let the cons run the prison, they're going to sell drugs. Yeah. There's going to be gambling. There's going to be everything.
They just want to escape, surely. So that's why they're doing that.
Do you know what's any drugs that you find in prison is a form of escapism.
Yeah.
The majority of drugs inside that are sold, to tell you the truth, are actually prescription drugs. There's a massive cottage industry in drugs that are prescribed by the prison. Not necessarily the drugs that are coming in. So they've got service providers now that are paid a premium to actually give out more drugs. So now you've got more guys with back pains getting cocodamil, and then what they do, they burn them down, and they make morphine, opiates, and then they smoke it. So every weekend they're going for the whole week. They're going to get their painkillers. They store them up for the weekend, and on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday they burn them all down, and they go. We call it going out for the weekend. And what they do, they just get out their nuts from Friday till Monday morning, and then it all starts again.
So depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, from being in there, it's such a shame. If you've got a guy who's going to do 10 years, why is that guy leaving prison addicted to morphine or heroin or drugs? Why hasn't he got a proper education, and why hasn't he got a trade? We do level 1 education inside prison. If we give someone a trade, if we give them level 1. That doesn't do nothing.
Yeah, like plastering or plumbing.
We got a captive audience in there. They should really sign up to a program where they have a level of education which is far superior than out here. Because you got them every night. They sign up to a compact where they get to a certain level in their education. They have to do an apprenticeship, a full apprenticeship, or a degree.
Well, that's life goals. Everyone needs a purpose. That's what. And you're stuck inside like 23 hours. You feel like you've got no purpose.
And this is what they do. They're just being left to rot in there.
Yeah.
Basically, we have a society, prison system that actually believes that punishment is better than cure.
But that's why you're so special. That you came out. You're reformed. You don't touch drugs. You're like now.
I'm pretty
don't
lucky.
Drink. Yeah.
No, I was lucky because I made a conscious decision to pack up drinking, pack up smoking, because I know where it got me, because I analysed every single aspect of my drinking, why I drank, because it was being put in care on. So I masked my sorrows or whatever through drinking, smoking, gear and shit and all that, and also womanising where I never had my parental love from my mother. I then went out and got it from as many girls as I could meet. Yeah. So so it was just a real bad combination of
violence and giving out the terror love.
Until I understood it. So once I understood it, I don't do none of it anymore.
And now you've got a lovely girlfriend and you have a good relationship with your kids.
I got all my kids. I've just decorated all their houses. Yeah. And they've all got lovely houses. They've all got their own businesses, which is great. None of them are criminals, which is fantastic.
Brilliant, yeah.
Well, the good thing is they actually learn from me. Yeah. They learn from my mistakes. Yeah. Normally you have to make mistakes.
So it's good for something.
So I actually, if I convince myself that what I went through was for a purpose, then it gets me
through. But it's not just your kids. You'll be helping all these other kids and the Band of Brothers. You'll be helping people that are listening, and
Well, this is what we do now. We got the Camden Against Violence. Yeah. It's only a website.
And is that specifically for like knife crime that's going on at the moment?
It started off with knife crimes because a couple of the kids were killed in the Crescent. So we done a march. And then we thought there was a need for people to come together and to express themselves. So we had a Facebook media platform. So what was then we actually asked people to talk about their thoughts and feelings. Same thing as we do in therapy. And then people started opening up. Then all of a sudden we had like 300 or 400. Now like we got thousands now and now. And then people every day are speaking about their thoughts and feelings, but really in a constructive manner. They're not swearing. They're not calling. They're not being racist. They're actually everyone's looking from everyone's perspective now. And what we do, we go on there every day. We look at everyone's perspective and we figure out ways how can we improve our model, because we do workshops. So what we do, we'll take all the data that we collect, and we come up with a model that we can actually go and speak to the kids, and instead of chastising them, instead of belittling them, instead of embarrassing them, we actually talk to them on a level where they understand, and bring out the best in them. And then what we do from that, we got a few organisations that we work with, apprenticeships. We put a couple of the kids on them. We got urban radio coming. They're going to do workshops where the kids learn how to work on radio, to be DJs and record their stuff. We've also opened up a food box in Camden. We're just doing it now, where people, if they're going through hardship, they can actually come and get food. So these initiatives that we've done, these initiatives that we've actually brought. We're also working in partnership with Mosaic. They're an organisation in the London School of Mosaic in Mansfield Road. They got 75 garages down there as workspaces, and we're taking one of them over to put a radio station in. We're going to have our office down there, but we're also going to have places where the kids can come so they can learn how to do mosaic.
Yeah.
So so there's going to be art shops down there. We've got guys who makes push bikes and fixes them, and the kids can learn how to do that.
It's great that you're sort of showing that being creative is really important as well.
We're trying to do. We're trying to show that if you wait around for the government to do anything, you can be waiting for it. Now, the knife crime epidemic is going on for 20 years.
Yeah.
We're under no illusion this is just a thing that started a few years ago. This has been going for 20 years. Austerity didn't help in 2008. There's a direct correlation between underfunding, the numbers of police they took off the streets, the number of I think they took 22,000 police officers off the streets. We now have the streets are in chaos. The kids now don't respect the old bill. We never see them, so how can they respect him? We got, I think 10 or 15 or 20,000 prison officers in the last 10 years have left the prison and been sacked. So, and they still haven't replaced them. So there's a direct correlation between the amount of drugs now being taken in prison, the amount of violence in prison on staff.
But isn't it good for you that you're going to sort of be responsible for cleaning up Camden, which is where you grew up, and going back to the Camden Against Violence, you'll be...
Yeah, for us, it's I think it's imperative that, if we could save one kid, from stabbing someone else,
That's what's important.
We had Kelvin, a young kid, he got stabbed a few weeks ago. They still haven't found his murderers, but, he was only 22 years old. Before that, we had two girls from my girlfriend's school, two Somali kids. They died within 6 months of each other, two brothers. So
that must be awful for them.
Yeah, so we want to try and give the kids that are actually, how can I say this in a really good way? Sometimes people have to die for people to actually wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah.
If there was a good thing about him being killed, Calvin, unfortunately, is that a few of the kids that were actually in that gang and around that have come to the Band of Brothers.
That's great.
And so they want to change their life because they don't want to end up dead.
Yeah.
So, and the kids that are actually killing now are getting 36 years and 30 years. That's trickling down. That's the people who are more aware of it.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, kids have to die for kids to learn.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have another 4 or 5 more years of this. But I think eventually it will come down. I think people will realise that maybe it's better not to kill someone.
Well, it will on your watch anyway, won't it?
I think the more we go out and tell people of the life they're going to live in prison and the sentences they're going to receive if they carry on this lifestyle, I think we're going to start getting a few back now.
Yeah. And if you want to find Camden Against Violence, they got their own Facebook page.
Yeah, it's hashtag Camden Against Violence.
Amazing. And Band of Brothers is abandofbrothers.org.uk for anyone that wants to get involved in that. I think it's brilliant what you're doing. Thank you so much for giving us some time.
Thank you
and hopefully it might change somebody's life who's listening now. So
thank you for having me.
Thanks for doing it.
No problem.
Changing the world one man at a time. abandofbrothers.org.uk. That's it for now. Love you for listening. And don't forget to show love. Thank you to Ollie Trevors for Saucy Naughty Rubbish and Danny Wright for staying in. Thank you to Alex McCardle for sound and edits. Please follow us on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook at Show Love UK. And if you want to join the conversation, please join the group Show Love Podcast on Facebook. Thank you.
So much to get through. I know I'll start it in a minute or two. Lay back in bed, reminisce instead. Let's plan it all in my head. Procrastination, self-stimulation, instant gratification. I'm self-medicating, therapists recommending more meditating, wasted education. I need more admiration, and I don't wanna bother with today. I pretty much missed it anyway. Might as well stay, and I don't wanna bother with today. I pretty much missed it anyway. Might as well stay, I'm staying in. Come dine with me, repeat it on channel 3. I watch it cause I'm feeling hungry. Try and shift the mood, so I ordered Chinese food. Said fuck it, just keep the change, dude. Finance situation, spent on dedication. Dreams of Wembley Stadium in my name.